I was still in my studio loft when the notification chimed, a brittle, metallic ping that sliced through the hush of pre-dawn London like a thrown pebble snapping a cathedral window. It was 5:12 a.m., the hour when the city pauses between last night's drunken promises and this morning's sleepless regrets. All week I'd lived on vapor and adrenaline, editing until my lungs felt like crumpled map paper. That alert, I assumed, was the final render of the film I'd spent 14 months nursing into existence, a living monument to my late father, the last record of his voice, his face, his gentle defiance. Instead, the message seethed. Error 404, file not found. My name is Delaney Crossley. I'm 31, the youngest daughter of the Crossley family, though never the favorite. I grew up in Bath, obsessed with turning moments into stories. Super 8 reels of rain wobbling down stained glass panes, cassette tapes of my grandfather's harmonica twining with birdsong. Dad used to joke that while my older sister Felicity memorized sheet music scales and grumbled about chipped nail polish, I collected time itself, spooling it onto dusty reels and naming each breath like it mattered more than gold. When he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer 2 years ago, he asked me for one gift. Help me leave something honest behind, Dove. That's what he called me, Dove, because I'd perch on the banister to eavesdrop on grown-up talk, ready to flutter away with all their secrets. I promised him a legacy film. Not a syrupy montage with pianos and teardrop dissolves, but a portrait that breathed. Dad trimming roses in April's biting wind. Dad wearing ridiculous neon lycra on his first Parkinson's charity cycle. Dad tracing the curve of Mom's jaw in candlelight as though engineering a masterpiece. For 14 months, I followed him with a Sony FX3, documenting every cough he tried to swallow and every witty parry he still lobbed at the universe. I archived brittle postcards he sent from civil engineer sites in the 90s. I cataloged the smell of his tobacco tin in metadata fields no one else will ever read. And when, finally, the chemo outpaced my footage, I sat at my desk and assembled the map of his heart. The plan was simple. Tomorrow, at St. Martin's Hall, the extended Crossley line, cousins, ex-lovers, stray colleagues, would gather for the unveiling of Water Under Iron. Dad loved that phrase. Water for life, iron for bridges he designed across Somerset. The film was scheduled to premiere precisely 6 months after his funeral. At the same hour the church bells chimed farewell. I booked the hall, calibrated the projector, triple backed up files across 2 RAID arrays and an encrypted cloud. Every frame was graded, every pulse of sound mastered so Dad's laugh would echo like thunder in each soft heart. So when the 404 error woke me, dread pumped cold through my spine, I scrolled deeper. Thomas file tree empty. Drive C. Project Water Under Iron mastered.move. Gone. The cloud link showed a tombstone icon. Panic ignited. I tunneled into server logs. User, Felicity C. Timestamp, 3:47 a.m. UKT. Command, git delete, recursive. My fingers froze above the keys. Tears hit the spacebar like static sparks. There, digital fingerprints smeared across Dad's remaining breath, was my sister's name. Felicity. Prim, charismatic, older by 4 years, always center stage at every family Easter talent show. She got the scholarship to the Royal Academy of Music. I got second-hand camcorders from car boot sales. We loved different languages but shared the same stage. She filled auditoriums with Schubert. I filled screens with living memory. Yet competition fermented in corners we never aired. When Dad bequeathed me those tapes, my gift to you, Dove, trust your eye. I saw Felicity's smile twitch like a frayed violin string. Still, erase his legacy? Even the worst sibling rivalry stops before patricide of the past. Thunder rumbled beyond the skylight, an omen disguised as summer rain. My throat tightened. No time for shock. The premiere was less than 20 hours away. I could salvage raw footage from cold storage, but ingesting, recomposing, color matching, sound designing, impossible before guests arrived in their black suits and pastel grief. I slammed a fist on the desk. Dad's memory reduced to digital ash by the one person who knew how fragile I felt. I yanked on a hoodie, grabbed a portable SSD, and hurtled into the stairwell. My building's lift still smelled of curry from last night's neighborly feast. I took the stairs 2 at a time. Outside, dawn burned lavender across the Thames. I sprinted toward the underground, my breath clouding like dragon smoke. Destination: Felicity's flat in Bayswater. Commuters eyed me, a disheveled ghost clutching a drive as if it were a grenade. I rehearsed confrontation lines. Why? How dare you? He was your father too. Asterisk. But beneath every syllable lurked a deeper terror. What if Felicity hadn't acted out of spite? What if she sold the footage, leaked it? Our relationship with the truth was already fragile. Felicity's bankrupt record label fiasco last year left her drowning in debt. Dad's voice, unguarded, could be minted into 1,000 exploitable clicks. On the district line, I dialed my friend Mateo, a cybersecurity analyst who moonlit patching my post-production network. He answered groggily, Spanish accent swaddled in sleep. I hurled an avalanche of panic. Delete logs, restoration temps, timeline to premiere. He whistled softly. Lanny, that's nuclear. Offline backups? Disconnected. She scrubbed those too. A full wipe in under 17 minutes? She had admin credentials. Dad made us co-executors of his digital estate. We each held a key. I trusted the family firewall. Felicity found the master override. Mateo exhaled. Look, RAID parity means ghost sectors. I can salvage fragments if you bring me the drives. But full reconstruction, 12 hours minimum. I stared at my reflection in the carriage window, eyes red, jaw clenched. Do it. I'm bringing everything. You'll need filler for missing clips. I'll build them in After Effects. Worst case, the gaps become negative space, artistic. You hate negative space. I hate erasure more. I ended the call as the train hissed to a stop. Above ground, Bayswater terraces preened behind wrought iron gates. Felicity's building gleamed white. Moneyed, indifferent. I buzzed 12 times. No answer. I pushed past a departing tenant and sprinted upstairs. Her door hung ajar. First, ominous sign. Inside, the flat looked ransacked. Sheet music flung like paper swans, coffee mugs shattered on parquet, a smashed digital piano blinking red error codes. My sister sat slumped by the bay window, mascara tracks dried midnight on her cheeks. She held a bottle of Glenfiddich like a drowning woman clutching driftwood. Felicity, my shout ricocheted off bare walls. She flinched, eyes glassy. Lanny, I expected you. Did you erase Dad's film? Her lips trembled. I needed. She glanced at a stack of overdue notices littering the floor. Final demand letters. Court summons. Debt totals that eclipsed most mortgages. They called at 3. Said they'd freeze my accounts if I didn't deliver something valuable by sunrise. You handed them our father's memory? My voice cracked. That footage isn't currency. It's him. Quote. Tears welled. They promised they'd give it back once they copied it, but their server corrupted. The delete was automatic. Ice pulsed through my veins. Who are they? She pulled a crumpled card from her pocket. Borealis Beyond Productions, asterisk, a notorious click farm disguised as a documentary studio. They hoarded human tragedy, sliced it into bite-sized empathy porn, monetized heartbreak at 8 ads per minute. My father's gentle humor, his final breath, would become fodder for a thumbnail with a red arrow pointing at his gaunt cheeks. I'm sorry, she whispered. I was drowning. I wanted to howl, but grief's blade carved quieter. You can't drown the dead to stay afloat. My gaze swept the flat, ruinous, haunted. In that moment, I understood. Felicity hadn't just sabotaged me, she'd sabotaged herself. Still, Dad's story deserved better than blame. A plan stirred, dangerous yet electric. If Borealis Beyond nabbed the source files, they likely kept temporary caches before full ingest. Those caches lived on a private server farm in East London. Mateo once mapped their IP cluster while tracing a copyright claim for another client. If I could infiltrate, extract enough raw frames, and rebuild missing segments, the premiere could survive. But there was more. The world needed to witness not only Dad's life, but the theft itself. How grief becomes loot. A documentary within a documentary. A live exposé. I knelt beside my sister. Flick, we're taking it back. You'll help me. Shock flickered in her eyes. I don't deserve. You'll deserve him when you fight for him. Outside, sirens wailed faintly, a prelude to chaos. I helped her to her feet. She clutched my arm like a child scared of thunder but ready to follow the lightning. The next 12 hours blurred into controlled mayhem. We ferried my radar rays to Mateo's flat near Shoreditch. His living room transformed into a NASA mission control of humming towers and LED fans. Felicity, sobered by black coffee and shame, cataloged every gap in the timeline while I drafted an emergency structure. Act 1, asterisk, asterisk, Dad's childhood, safe. Act 2, asterisk, his engineering triumphs, fragmented. Act 3, asterisk, his final months, scarce. But the heart of the film, Dad's unreleased final message recorded the night before surgery, was gone entirely. Mateo's fingers danced across keyboards. Recovered 38% of the lost binaries, he announced at noon. Audio intact on 60%. Picture on 24%. Some frames corrupted beyond repair. Quote. I exhaled. Patchable. We'll animate the missing visuals, schematics sketching themselves, contour lines revealing his bridges. Dad loved blueprints. Felicity looked up. And the final message? Mateo winced. Checksum inconsistent. Possibly overwritten by noise. Might surface later, but don't count on it. My chest hollowed. Dad's last words, his gift to Mom, disintegrated into static. No, not static. Borealis Beyond server might still hold the full packet. We had to breach their hive. 3:30 p.m. streets, sizzling under rare British sun. We raced across town in Felicity's battered Mini Cooper, the car rattling like a tambourine. Mateo traced the data trail to a warehouse near Limehouse Cut, disguised as a logistic depot. Rusted corrugated steel facade, CCTV nests sprouting like malignant vines. We parked 2 blocks away. I zipped a duffel of tools, 2 drones, a signal jammer, a pair of GoPro 12s, and a pocket projector. Felicity adjusted her chignon into a tight bun, cheeks flushed with adrenaline. You ever break into a data center? She asked, voice brittle. I've broken into memory, I replied. Buildings are easier. We approached twilight-shadowed alleys, scaling a chain-link fence coated in ivy. I felt the cut of wire through my gloves, but kept climbing. Felicity followed, her concert-trained fingers trembling, but unwavering. Once inside, we navigated between stacked shipping containers until we reached a side door with a keypad. Mateo's remote hack fed brute force codes until it clicked open. Inside, servers glowed cobalt, aisle after aisle of humanity's overshared secrets. The air smelled of ozone and ambition. We wore headsets. Mateo's voice guided us from his flat. Node C7 stores incoming footage. You have 11 minutes before motion sensors rotate. I led Felicity close. We located rack C7, beige tower with carbon filters humming softly. I plugged my encrypted drive into a maintenance port and launched a pirate script. Progress bar inched. 10 gigabytes. 15 gigabytes to 32 gigabytes. Felicity whispered, That's the raw dump of Dad's message. Suddenly, alarms shrieked. Red lights strobed. Mateo cursed. Local admin just triggered manual scan. 2 minutes. Tops. The progress bar lagged at 67%. I clenched jaw. Faster. Asterisk. But code obeys only math. At 78%, footsteps thundered the corridor. Felicity's eyes widened. Plan B? I yanked a GoPro, hit record, and pointed it at the files list. Evidence, I muttered. Then to the projector. I jacked it into the server's HDMI out. Across silver racks bloomed our father's laughter, giant and luminous, playing directly off Borealis Beyond's own machine. Dad, teaching me to ride a rusted bicycle. Dad, raising a glass at Felicity's conservatoire recital. Dad, whispering to the lens, legacy is abridged of, build sturdy. Guards stormed in. Hey, step away. I unplugged the drive, copy paused at 83%, slipped it into my jacket. Felicity hit the signal jammer, CCTV feeds fuzzed. We sprinted, weaving between servers as security lunged. Down a maintenance shaft, out a mesh grate, into shimmer heat daylight. Sirens behind us, but no pursuit yet. Breath ragged, heart sinking like war drums. Back in the Mini, Felicity slammed the accelerator. Data drive secure. Dad's message 83% whole, enough to resurrect. 6:08 p.m. St. Martin's Hall. Guests already arrived. Suits rustling. Murmurs echoing under vaulted ceilings. I set up an emergency edit bay backstage. Laptop, portable panel, Mateo's live feed. Felicity rehearsed a terse apology she'd deliver before the screening, but I waved it off. The truth would reveal itself on screen. At 7 sharp, lights dimmed. I emerged, throat sandpaper. Thank you for gathering to honor Jeffrey Crossley. Tonight's presentation is slightly unconventional. What you will witness is both a portrait of my father and the story of how memory itself can be stolen. Gasps. Curious glances. I hit play. The film unfurled. Dad's youth in sepia tones. His bridges rising to orchestral crescendos. Where footage was missing, animated blueprints etched across negative space. Ghost hands drafting steel arcs. Audience leaned forward. Then Act 3. Hospital scenes. Shaky handheld honesty. And at precisely 42 minutes in, the recovered message began. Dad sat in dim lamplight, tubes hidden beneath a cardigan, eyes bright. The video sputtered, corrupted frames flickered, but his voice rang clear. If someone's watching this, I've already crossed my last river. But remember, the water below still carries my reflection. Look for me there. Static swallowed final syllables. The screen cracked into pixel embers. Murmurs rose. Tears glistened. But the film didn't end. I'd appended footage from our break-in. Servers, guards, theft in progress, time-stamped overlays, Felicity's trembling confession on a handheld close-up. She addressed the camera. I let fear erase him, but my sister fought to resurrect him. Don't let grief become greed. Audience gasped louder. Journalists unclipped pens like daggers. I felt a tremor ripple through the hall. Fury, awe, vindication, all at once. Just as the credits rolled, auditorium doors burst open. 2 men in Borealis Beyond livery strode down the aisle, legal documents raised. Stop this screening, one barked. Cease and desist. Property of Borealis Beyond. I stepped forward, heart jackhammering, spotlight pinning me like prey. Before I could speak, a journalist from Twending the Guardian leapt up. She owns the source. You stole it. Cameras flashed. More voices surged. The men paled. Then my laptop, the live feed, chirped. Drive integrity error. Mateo's voice crackled in my earpiece. Lonnie, Borealis is hitting us with a remote wipe signal. They're nuking the recovered data. I stared at the projector. Frames began corrupting, colors bleeding, audio warping. Dad's face melted into digital noise before hundreds of eyes. I swallowed panic, adrenaline spiking. Do not let him vanish again. I pivoted to the crowd, voice raw but unwavering. Ladies and gentlemen, the fight for my father's memory isn't over. Tonight is just the opening scene. My gaze found Felicity. She nodded, tears and resolve gleaming. We're taking this story public. Every theft, every lie, live in real time. Watch with us. The projector died. Room plunged into darkness. Gasps turned to silence. Anticipation coiled like a spring. I raised the still recording GoPro, its tiny red light the only ember in the void. You're all witnesses now. Will you help me keep him alive? Thunder rolled outside, shaking stained glass panels. The hall quivered, a ship in storm. Somewhere, Borealis lawyers barked into phones. Journalists whispered about exclusives. And Dad's memory hovered in the dark, waiting for its next heartbeat. But this fight had only just begun. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow, I have a special story for you. Darkness inhaled the hall so completely that the air itself seemed to thicken, vibrating with the collective pulse of hundreds of startled hearts. Somewhere in the black, a child whimpered. Phone screens blossomed like tiny constellations, casting ghost blue halos on faces that only moments ago had been bright with tears. I tightened my grip on the still recording GoPro held high above my head, its red tally light the sole beacon of continuity. My lungs refused to expand, as if they too feared erasure. "Stay calm," I called, voice raspy but sure, every syllable knifing through the hush. "Backup power will kick in." It was a bluff. The hall's generator had been decommissioned months ago, but panic dissolves faster when offered structure. The crowd obeyed, settling into uneasy quiet. Over the comm in my left ear, Mateo's whisper fizzed with voltage. "Remote white packets keep coming. Shutting Wi-Fi radios now, but they're piggybacking on any open network. Your GoPro link is clean, cellular tunnel, encrypted. Keep filming." A shuffle at stage left snagged my attention. The two Borealis operatives groped through the dark, flashing torches like searchlight lances. Legal briefs fluttered in one man's fist, pages tearing free like frightened moths. "This presentation breaches judicial order," he barked. "Shut down all devices or face prosecution." His flashlight caught my chest, illuminating sweat-damp cotton and the white knuckles clamped on the camera. The beam trembled. Perhaps he felt what I felt, an irreversible shift in momentum. Truth, once glimpsed, resists containment. Felicity emerged from the wings, clutching a battery-powered field monitor. The glow etched her face in chiaroscuro, remorse and resolve dancing across cheekbones once reserved for opera spotlights. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, voice lilting yet steely, "if Borealis claims ownership over our father's words, let them hear those words echo louder than any corporate decree." She flipped the monitor outward. Even in low-res standby, Dad's frame glimmered. His cardigan, the warm lamplight, the promise in his creased eyes. A ripple of gasps washed over the audience. Before the Borealis men could advance, a journalist, Grace Howell from The Guardian, her pixie cut unmistakable, rose atop a seat and pointed her phone's lens straight at them. "The world is watching," she warned, livestream counter-ticking in the corner of her screen. Others followed, lifting devices like torches in a vigil. A forest of cameras sprouted, harvesting truth from every angle. Borealis had invaded with lawsuits. We retaliated with 1,000 pocket mirrors reflecting their own image back at them. Mateo's voice pierced the comm again. "Laney, wired network severed. I'm compiling a hot patch to freeze wipe commands at the client side, but we need fresh physical backups. Now, your laptop battery's dying." "I have a rig in the van," I murmured. "Stage door, 3 minutes." I swung to the crowd. "We're migrating the screening outside where Borealis jurisdiction ends. Follow the exit signs. Keep your phones rolling." Lights from phones provided a faint aurora guiding feet through aisles. The hall transformed into a river of glowworms, current set toward disclosure. Backstage, emergency lamps flickered crimson. Felicity trailed me, clutching Dad's old fountain pen like a talisman. "Delaney," she panted, "tell me there's a real plan." "There's always a plan," I answered, though mine was still sketching itself between heartbeats. Borealis had attacked our hardware. We'd weaponize their aggression. We would broadcast the theft, the sabotage, the attempted silencing, live, uncontested, before they could scrub another bite. We burst into the alley where my panel van idled amid dumpsters perfumed with yesterday's catering. Mateo, bespectacled and barefoot, he'd hacked cab GPS to catch up, leaned against the side door. "Power cells charged," he announced, gesturing to a stack of Li-ion packs and a Pelican case labeled Asterisk Edgecaster. 5,000 tux. Plug the camera, punch the satellite uplink, and we'll beam Dad across every social node that still believes in free content. "Latency?" I asked, hauling open doors. Racks of equipment glimmered. Field switcher, patch panels, a collapsible dish. 700 milliseconds max, enough to dodge takedown AI for a while. He tossed me a Kevlar-jacketed SSD. "Mirror every frame locally. The moment Borealis flags stream segments, this drive becomes evidence." Felicity climbed in, fingers flying across a control tablet despite her earlier tremor. "I'll cue B-roll against live commentary," she murmured. "I want people to see Dad explaining tensile stress while he whisked eggs. Make him feel alive." Sirens wailed in the distance. Real police this time. Mateo's brow furrowed. "We've got maybe 10 minutes before they cordon the block. Streaming on the move is safer." I slid behind the wheel, ignition roaring. Then we roadcast. The van lurched forward just as constables rounded the corner. Blue lights licked brick walls, but we melted into traffic before gridlock formed. London unrolled ahead. Streetlights, river, neon, a living fiber-optic cable ready to transmit our defiance. For 3 adrenaline-soaked hours, we drove concentric orbits around the city, hopping SIM cards, borrowing public Wi-Fi bursts whenever red lights stalled us. Inside, the edit evolved in real time. Mateo color-balanced recovered segments. Felicity scoured archive externals for any shot that might bridge corrupted gaps. I navigated and narrated, voice piped through a lav mic, telling viewers, now numbering 87,000, about Dad's bridges, the deletion, the break-in, the fight. Comments cascaded. Asterisk, "My father was an engineer too." Asterisk, "I lost my mom's voicemails. This makes my heart ache." And more crucial, coders volunteering CPU cycles, lawyers offering pro bono counsel, archivists pledging redundant mirrors. Crowdsourced resilience blossomed. Yet Borealis struck back. At 22:14, a barrage of DMCA takedown notices felled our YouTube relay. We rerouted to PeerTube and Telegram. At 22:37, botnets flooded our satellite link. Bitrate choked. Mateo rearranged frequencies. War is bandwidth. By midnight, global viewership topped 200,000. Hashtag water under iron asterisk trended 4th worldwide. But a new notification chimed, one that rattled even Mateo's composure. Borealis Beyond _legal asterisk tweeted, "We demand immediate return of proprietary materials. Any unauthorized distribution constitutes theft. Law enforcement engaged." Attached was a PDF of an ex parte injunction. Expedited hearing at High Court 8 a.m. They meant to freeze our accounts, impound equipment, perhaps even arrest us. I exhaled through my teeth. They're accelerating. Felicity rubbed eyes red from screen glare. "We can't outrace the law forever." "Then we outmaneuver it," I countered, index tapping a roadmap spread across the dashboard. Borealis keeps LTO tape redundancies at their Thameside headquarters, air-gapped for physical security. If we secure those master tapes, we can prove chain of custody. And if their lawyers seize our drives, we still hold the crown jewels. Mateo blinked. "Breaking into their HQ on record while half the planet watches?" I met his gaze. "Exactly. Transparency becomes armor. They won't dare erase evidence with 1 million eyewitnesses." "Or they'll dare spectacularly," he muttered. But he powered up his laptop, schematics blooming across the screen. "Building routers here. CCTV loops run on closed fiber, but there's a maintenance node on the roof garden connecting to public council power. Failsafe might let us inject a blackout window." "Roof infiltration?" Felicity asked. "I'm a pianist, not Catwoman." "Dad said bridges are just invitations across impossible gaps," I reminded her. "Tonight we build our own." 2:03 a.m. The van idled beneath an abandoned gasworks opposite Borealis HQ, an obsidian monolith reflecting swollen moonlight. We dressed in black cargo jackets lined with reflective tape that switched off under IR, a gift from an activist collective called Memory Keepers, who answered our call. They'd also supplied lightweight grappling guns and e-ink patches displaying QR codes linking to the livestream propaganda cum-proof. Before departure, I set my phone to panoramic selfie, capturing the 3 of us, Delaney, Felicity, Mateo, faces drawn but fervent. "If we don't make it back, duplicate this feed," I told the viewers. "Truth must propagate." Likes surged in earnest promise. We crossed the service courtyard, boots crunching gravel muffled in our heart's thunder. A freight lift shaft jutted along the rear facade, terminating at the roof garden level. Mateo hacked the call panel, wires copper-tongued in his nimble grasp. The lift groaned awake, cage doors yawning like an ancient beast. We slipped inside. Metal rattled as we ascended 14 stories. Through mesh walls, sodium-washed cityscapes scrolled downward. Felicity's hands tightened on the strap of her camera bag. Lainey, when Dad died, I felt like my clearest octave cracked. Tonight, I'm terrified I'll snap again. I took her hand. Cracks let microphones hear deeper resonance. We're stronger through them. The lift lurched to a stop. Roof garden, manicured sedums, motion sensors glinting dew. We crouched behind planters. Mateo scanned with IR goggles, marking laser grids in midair. Windows of 3 seconds between sweeps. Follow my pace. We weaved through light webs, breath synchronized. At the rooftop utility door, a keypad awaited. Mateo peeled the panel, bridging 2 contacts. Here's the blackout. Lights across rooftop blinked out. Cameras cycling reboot. We hustled through into a corridor, humming stale conditioned air. Inside, Borealis architecture screamed sterile opulence, glass floors lit from beneath, art installations whirling kinetic data shards. We descended a stairwell to the archive vault level. Motion detectors here were analog, stubborn. Felicity produced a roll of foil tape, patching sensors with trembling precision, learned from mending violin bows. Volute door ahead, steel slab embossed with the company logo, an Ouroboros of film reel devouring its tail. A biometric palm plate glowed. Mateo frowned. Database is off-net. Can't spoof remotely. Footsteps resounded from an intersecting hall, guards making rounds. We flattened against wall art, geometric LED sculpture, breath held. The guards passed, chatting about overtime rates, oblivious. When they vanished, Felicity whispered, I have an idea. She rifled through her bag, retrieving the pen Dad had given her the night of his last concert. She unscrewed barrel, revealing a micro SD protruding. He hid recordings of his signature humming pattern. Borealis used multi-factor ID on earlier demos. They sampled employees' unique audio signatures as fallback. Dad consulted on their acoustics once. Shock sizzled through me. You kept that quiet. I thought it was sentimental, not strategic. She slid the chip into Mateo's dongle. Tinny audio hissed. Dad humming asterisk, Scarborough Fair. Mateo fed signal through transducer, pressing it against biometric mic slot adjacent palm plate. Green light blossomed. Lock thunked. Door slid open into a refrigeration-cold chamber, lined with LTO tape vaults, towering dark pillars, trimmed with green LEDs. Each cartridge labeled by date, project code. We stepped inside, awe merging with urgency. Mateo consulted manifest on a tablet he'd scraped earlier. Your footage labeled times IMWU-_001 to 193B. Rack 5, Shelf 4. We hustled. My fingers brushed the cartridges, cool, weighty, magnetic fossils containing Dad's laugh unscathed. Felicity exhaled a sob of relief. But the moment felt perilously quiet. No alarms, as if building itself inhaled before screaming. We loaded tapes into anti-static satchel. Then, a klaxon yowled, scarlet strobes igniting, floodgates of noise. Mateo swore. Pressure sensor under floor tiles. We tripped threshold weight. Footsteps thundered corridor outside. Radios barking. We bolted deeper, searching alternate egress. Emergency stairwell door ahead magnet locked at alarm state. Mateo jammed a screwdriver, sparks flying. Lock popped. We sprinted downward flights 2 at a time. Cameras tracked. Sirens echoed. At level 8, door burst open revealing a guard with taser raised. Instinct flared. I hurled a smoke pellet. Memory keepers again. Vision clouding lavender haze. Felicity tugged me through side office. Rows of editing bays. We slammed door, coughing. Inside, bank of monitors glowed, one displaying Borealis live dashboard streaming graphs, and, chillingly, our own rogue broadcast feed flagged, terminate pending. A countdown timer. Asterisk, Asterisk, 0 hours, 14 minutes and 59 seconds. Borealis had launched a global kill switch that would purge every mirrored copy within 15 minutes. I stared at ticking seconds, heart-drilling ribs. Felicity's voice fractured. If that timer hits 0, the internet forgets him forever. Mateo tapped keys, face lit infernal red by alarm strobes. They're pushing a hash collision algorithm to poison each copy's checksum. We can't outseed that manually. I turned, forehead near shattering. Then we need a broadcast so big the hashes explode across nodes faster than they can blacklist. My gaze fell on a rack-mounted encoder, labeled Borealis_Hyperbeam, capable of 400 gig simultaneous multicast to every major CDN. We shared a look of feral determination. I hoisted the encoder, cabling snaking. We hijack their own weapon. Mateo's grin surfaced despite chaos. Power flickered as we rerouted uplink to Hyperbeam. Felicity patched our live project files, layering Dad's hum as sonic watermark impossible to strip. I hit Stuff Launch. Progress bars zipped. Unthinkably fast. Like lightning surfing copper. A roar of data tore through fiber, saturating nodes worldwide. The countdown on Purge console froze, then fractured into errorglyphs. But triumph was premature. A low rumble vibrated floor panels. Internal fire suppression engaged. Helen cylinders hissed. White fog cascading. Oxygen scrub dangerous. Mateo coughed. They'll suffocate us to stop the breach. He pointed to sealed vents. We grabbed LTO satchel, darted toward north stairwell, the nearest path up. Lights flickered black. Our lungs screamed. Halfway, steel shutters crashed, severing stairwell mid-level. We skidded to a halt, choking on chemical haze. Below, guards ascended. Above, shuttered labyrinth. No exit. I slammed fist against barrier. Metal rang, indifferent. Felicity gripped my sleeve. Delaney, look. She pointed across shaft. A narrow maintenance ladder leading to an inspection hatch. Small, but unguarded. We scrambled, muscles burning, coughing shards of breath. I shoved hatch. It budged. Beyond, frigid night air spilled, spangled with rain. Roof again, but on opposite wing. We emerged onto slick steel catwalk, city skyline dizzy. Alarms still howled inside like a wounded beast. From below, searchlights clawed the roof. Mateo hoisted encoder backpack, still streaming. Our packet storm is live. The world has Dad now. Relief warred with new peril as rotor blades thumped. A corporate security helicopter rose, spotlight zeroing on us. Wind-lashed hair, satchel straps snapping. I shielded my eyes. Pilot's bullhorn bellowed. Surrender tapes and lie face down. Lethal force authorized. Felicity's whisper barely cut the deafening rotors. We can't run that. Lightning forked across clouds. Thunder boomed. A cosmic drumroll echoing Dad's voice. Build sturdy. I felt a calm resolve pool in my chest. Cliff edge of roof lay 15 meters away. Beyond a gap bridging to adjacent office block undergoing renovation, cranes, scaffolds. Distance too wide for human jump, but not impossible with momentum. I glanced at Felicity, then Mateo. In their eyes, terror, faith, insane camaraderie. Bridge the impossible, I said. We sprinted. The helicopter spotlight tracked, engine shrieking. Wind whipped. Our boots hammered wet metal. 5 meters, 8, 10. My muscles coiled for leap. And the roof edge rushed toward us like the end of film reel, white leader fluttering before silence. Silence shattered the instant our boots left the dripping metal lip, and gravity seized every promise we'd ever made. For one impossible heartbeat, I hovered above the void, a void that smelled of rain-slick tar and buzzing electrical cables, and felt startlingly light, as though Dad's bridges were beneath my feet, ghost steel just thick enough to hold faith. Then wind punched my chest, hip, shoulder, spinning me sideways as Felicity shrieked beside me. We were not birds. We were film frames flung between projectors, praying the splice would hold. Impact. My right foot rammed scaffold crossbar, knee buckled but caught, left hand slammed a cold aluminium tube. Pain lanced, flashing white across vision. The scaffold trembled, screws squealing. Mateo's heavier body collided lower, scattering spanners off planks into the dark gorge of alley. Felicity's slender form crashed above me, breath expelled in a harsh sob. For several delirious seconds we dangled, clinging to construction bones 15 meters above asphalt, while the helicopter's searchlight roared past, overshooting our drop like an enraged celestial eye. I forced air into lungs, tasting copper. "You good?" I rasped upwards. "Define good," Felicity croaked, but her fingers tightened on pipes, knuckles milk white. Mateo cursed in Spanish below, verifying limbs. We scrambled onto the lowest plank walkway. Wood bowed but held. Rain pattered, soaking hair to skull. My knee screamed protest, blood warmed down shin. But we were alive, and Dad's tapes were cinched to my torso inside the satchel. Above, rotors spun a frustrated circle before drifting off, spotlight combing rooftops. They'd assume we'd splattered on pavement or retreated inside Borealis. That 10-meter leap was outside human playbooks, yet it bought perhaps 5 minutes. Mateo checked smartwatch, live stream still peaking. 2 million concurrent, he said, awe trembling his voice. Hyperbeam flood ignited digital wildfire. Mirror nodes in Brazil, Finland, New Delhi, everywhere. Borealis takedowns failing. The hashes mutate faster than their blacklist algorithm can chase. I exhaled a ragged laugh that tasted like blood and ozone. Dad was now etched into digital bedrock yacht, as brittle file but as fractal folklore. Scattering across platforms so widely deletion would be akin to erasing the Milky Way with an eraser tip. Yet we remained fugitives of corporate wrath and, soon, law. We descended scaffold ladders into the shell of the renovation site, an abandoned Victorian warehouse reimagined into flats. Inside, half-finished corridors yawned like rib cages stripped of flesh. Emergency packets' lights flickered from battery lamps. We ducked through plastic drop sheets, heartbeat thrumming. Phone vibrated. Text from Grace Howell. Taylor's police ceiling 6-block perimeter. Where are you? Saw it then silenced device. My mind sprinted ahead. We needed medical supplies, secure hideout, off-grid compute to duplicate the LTO tapes, and next move to confront Borealis publicly before they painted us saboteurs. Also, tomorrow 8 a.m. High Court hearing. They'd try to weaponize law to muzzle us. Could we appear and flip narrative? But first, survive next hour. Mateo gestured to service elevator shaft. Basement car park connects to maintenance tunnel leading toward Blackfriars Roadworks. If system diagram's accurate, we can exit perimeter beneath checkpoints. He'd memorized city infrastructure the way musicians know scales. We limped to lift car, a raw cage, power dead. We clambered onto roof of car and climbed service ladder down 4 stories. Each rung jarred knee like hammer. Felicity steadied me. At bottom, a narrow corridor reeked of lime and wet earth. Overhead, copper water mains thrummed. I set satchel on overturned bucket. My knee gushed crimson. Felicity tore strip of her black jacket, pressed to wound while humming a steadier note. An old lullaby Dad would hum when storms rattled windows of our childhood house. The melody tunneled through my pain, wove memory with present. We need closure strips, Mateo fussed, rummaging his backpack. He produced a med kit, bless hacker preparedness, steri strips, gauze, antibiotic spray. Felicity patched me with surgeon-like care. When done, I flexed knee, pain flared but functional. We trudged along tunnel until it spat us into subterranean service node beneath streetworks. Machinery throbbed overhead. Through iron grates, we glimpsed high-vis crews sleeping in porta-cabins, night shift break. We bypassed, emerging into Drizzle's slick alley behind a chain cafe far outside police cordon. City clocks chimed 3 a.m., damp dawn not far off. Adrenaline ebb left us hollow. We ducked into the cafe's delivery alcove. The staff door was ajar for smokers. Inside, warm bakery aroma hugged us. No employees in kitchen at this hour. Just trays cooling. We found bleach bottle for cleaning wound proper, and Felicity brewed espresso shots from auto machine. Payment IOU scribbled on napkin. Honesty mattered. Sipping bitter heat, we huddled around Mateo's tablet, news feeds ablaze. Guerrilla filmmakers hijack corporate servers to revive father's legacy. Asterisk Borealis data breach exposes toxic IP practices. Some outlets labeled us cyber terrorists, others hailed whistleblowers. Hashtag Crossley Bridge trending second now. Comments warlike. But a new threat headlined. Parliamentary minister calls emergency inquiry into data safety after breach. Anti-hack task force mobilized. They painted Borealis as victim. Politicians love donors. Borealis bankrolls many. We risked being scapegoats for national security theater. Felicity bit lip. We turned Dad into a revolution overnight. What if it devours itself before sunrise? I met her gaze. Revolutions need story arcs like any film. Hero, villain, turning point. We've shown villainy and our defiance. Now audience wants resolution. Unassailable proof Borealis stole and monetized grief. Those LTO tapes hold metadata logs stamping original authorship, their internal memos. Mateo nodded. But we still need a platform immune to censorship, where legal experts, journalists can parse tapes in real time. Something decentralized, verifiable. Blockchain evidence chain, I said. Interplanetary file system cluster pinned by global volunteers. We broadcast forensic hash tree and index. He grinned. I know devs at File Guardians. They owe me. We can push it, Dawn. We hashed plan. Secure hideout with gigabit fiber to duplicate tapes. Prep legal statement for High Court. Schedule 7:30 a.m. livestream reveal with cross-examination by independent press panel. Hideout? My mind recalled Finchley, Dad's old engineering workshop now repurposed as community makerspace. I retained keys. Tools? 3-phase power, fiber feed, installed last year for VR classes. Off police radar. We stole biscuits for calories, left 20 pounds beneath espresso machine, and slipped out. On street, drizzle shifted to hard rain. We hailed a black cab. Driver's eyes widened at our soaked, bruised shapes, but Londoners are stoic. Finchley Central, alley off Nether Street, I said. 20 cash plus extra for no chatter, he nodded. Cab wove through sleeping city, sirens distant, rain-streaked windows, merging neon into watercolor. Felicity dozed upright, clutching camera bag. Mateo typed furiously, summoning File Guardians dev chat, code strings cascading. I stared into wet glass, seeing reflection overlay city lights, Dad's face shimmering behind mine. Build sturdy, I vowed to finish bridge at dawn. Workshops smelled of machine oil and cedar. We disabled alarm. Inside, CNC routers slept beneath tarps. 3D printers glowed in standby. An antique drafting table preserved Dad's pencil sketches. Truss designs for pedestrian footbridge never built. Dust motes danced in our torchlight. We powered main breakers. Fluorescent strips flickered to life. Internet router in office corner blinked hungry green. Mateo unpacked his Edgecaster, rigged LTO drive to workstation, fans whirring. I placed tapes with reverence. Let's ghost copy entire set onto redundant RAIDs, then upload hashed slices across the swarm. Felicity parked herself at editing bay, extracting stills for morning slides. She looked serene despite blood-flecked forehead. Lainey, she murmured without turning, thank you for not letting me drown. I squeezed her shoulder. We crossed this river together. Mateo initiated duplication. Progress bars marched. We had 3 hours till High Court hearing. I drafted statement, weaving legal precedents of moral rights with emotion, quoting UK Copyright, Designs and Patents Act, Section 77, Right of Attribution. Dad's last message would punctuate further. At 5 a.m., gray dawn seeped through skylights. Progress hit 100%. File Guardians nodes confirmed receipt of 512-bit hash sets. Immutable ledger entries minted. The bridge was now reinforced with cryptographic rivets. We cleaned ourselves. Fresh shirts from Workshop's promo merch. Knee-wrapped tight. Felicity's face wiped. Uploaded a 3-minute teaser of what was coming. Me in workshop, blueprint backdrop, stating calmly. At 7:30 British summertime we will reveal evidence of Borealis beyond systematic harvest of private grief. Join independent journalists for live audit. Transparency is not theft, secrecy is. Views skyrocketed instantly. But threat barometer also spiked. Anonymous tip via Signal. Police units prepping raid on Finchley location. Borealis lawyers filed motion to impound stolen property. They wanted our tapes before we could show them. Clock read 6:12. We needed to move again, but how to stream live audit if constantly fleeing? Inspiration sparked. Dad's unbuilt pedestrian bridge concept included collapsible modular sections, portable platforms that could be deployed across festival sites. Makerspace stored prototypes. Lightweight aluminium frames rigged with solar microinverters and mini-servers for educational demos. We could convert them into roving micronodes, pop-up stage anywhere. Felicity understood immediately, eyes bright. We set up in Hyde Park's Speaker's Corner, public assembly zone. Police can't block free speech there without optics disaster. Tourists' cameras will create human shield. Mateo grinned wolfish. Mobile mesh nets route through visitors' phones, try stopping that. Thus, Operation Open Bridge was born. We loaded van, servers, projectors, folding frames, and zipped toward central London, as sun-cracked cloud banks orange. Traffic early but flowing. Radio news played bitter Borealis spokesman. Criminals jeopardized data privacy for emotional exploitation. My grip tightened on wheel. Hyde Park Green stretched ahead. We parked near Marble Arch, unloaded into morning breeze smelling of grass and pastry carts. Joggers slowed, curious at aluminium lattice we unfurled like giant origami. By 7 o'clock, a makeshift pavilion rose. Fabric screen, PA speakers borrowed from buskers. Our Edgecaster nested inside weatherproof crate. Grace Howell arrived with crew, plus correspondents from Times BBC, Times Channel 4, Times Vice. They wired mics, cameras. Public gathered in rippling semicircle, early commuters, tourists, activists, phones aloft. 7:25. I stood center stage, Dad's fountain pen clipped to collar, heartbeat audible in throat. Felicity manned AV switch, streaming mosaic of raw footage, metadata spreadsheets. Mateo monitored network health, mesh stable. 7:30 sharp, I stepped to mic. Good morning, London. 6 hours ago, Borealis Beyond attempted to erase a life. Instead, they taught the world how fragile memory can be, and how fierce love becomes when cornered. Cheering erupted. I continued. Unveiling LTO cartridges, chain of custody logs, internal emails referencing commodity grief campaign. They'd planned viral microdocs without consent. Gasps numbed the air. We opened floor to journalists. Grace interrogated timeline, others cross-checked checksums live. Proof irrefutable. But at 7:46, distant sirens crescendoed. Police vans converged at park perimeter, officers fanned in tactical vests. Crowd instinctively packed tight around stage, phones raised. Social livestream peaked at 4 million. Chief Inspector approached, megaphone booming. Disperse immediately, equipment subject to seizure under court order. I took mic, voice amplified across field. Inspector, under Section 29 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, journalistic material requires special procedure. Seizing these tapes without warrant violates statute. This assembly is peaceful. Murmurs of agreement. He hesitated, eyes flicking to cameras. Too many witnesses. But behind him, a suited lawyer from Borealis whispered. Inspector straightened. You are obstructing justice. Stand down. Officers advanced. Felicity whispered, backup node transfer complete. Even if they seize, World already has data. Yet I couldn't let Dad's physical tapes vanish into evidence room void. I raised pen-like clicker. Screen behind switched to live drone feed. Mateo had launched micro quadcopter earlier. It showed overhead skyline, barometric altitude overlay, GPS route arrowing toward Thames. I addressed crowd. If Borealis silences us here, a copy dives to the deepest public repository. Borealis lawyer stiffened. He recognized coordinate marker, * the British Library's legal deposit library reading room. They couldn't halt legal deposit of documentary artifacts once lodged. Standoff tensions thickened. Suddenly a roar from west, a convoy of cyclists wearing high-vis jackets and cardboard wings. Memory keepers. They streamed along Park Path, kettle drums beating, chanting, "Truth Unchained." They wedged between police lines and stage, forming human buffer. Officers faltered. Crowd erupted. Journalists broadcast clash worldwide. Pressure forced inspector to call negotiator. Borealis lawyer retreated, phone glued to ear. I leaned to Felicity. We bought time, but they'll regroup. We need final killer blow. She nodded, eyes glinting. Dad's final uncorrupted message. We've still only 83%. Matteo interjected. AI interpolation could restore missing 17% if we feed it enough of his voice print. Servers in van can process but need 20 minutes uninterrupted. I scanned horizon. Rain clouds thinning. Police gridlock meant we couldn't leave. We must process here under siege. We dragged server crate behind stage barrier, cables snaking. Matteo started synthesis algorithm. Progress slowly climbed. CPU fans whined. Police negotiator now conversed with memory keepers' liaisons. Borealis lawyer paced, glaring daggers. Progress 38%, 41%. Then generator sputtered. LED indicators flickered. Fuel nearly out. Felicity dashed to pastry cart vendor, bartered entire wallet for spare portable power banks and butane canisters. We daisy-chained improvised feed. Generator coughed back alive. Progress 72%, 85%, 99%. A hush fell as loudspeakers crackled. Dad's voice, restored, resonated over Hyde Park. If you're listening, my daughters stand before you. Remember, a bridge makes distance meaningful. It dares two sides to meet. Build yours with love, not fear. And when others try to burn it, raise it higher. Tears rained across faces. Strangers unified. I felt knee buckle but heart soared. Borealis lawyer dropped phone, pallid. Camera zoomed. I addressed inspector. Legacy belongs to the people connected by it. Will you help build or destroy? Officers exchanged looks, then stepped back. Applause thundered. Yet victory's shadow loomed. Over comms, Matteo cursed. New cybersecurity emergency order just broadcast. Government demanding shutdown of all unsanctioned live nodes. They'll cut cell towers within radius in 5 minutes. Mesh nets circumvent local towers, but upstream fiber lines would die. Our global link risked sever. Felicity met my eyes. We ride storm again. I scanned open sky. An idea insane, but fitting. The tethered drone overhead could ascend beyond a jamming radius to LoRaWAN gateways, piggyback to orbiting amateur satellites. We'd stream Dad's message into outer space. Once cosmic, unreachable. I sprinted to drone control pad, inverted throttle. Quad whined skyward, cable unreeling. Matteo modified transmitter modulation on the fly. Crowd watched drone pierce low clouds. Police shout orders. Some tried grabbing cable, but memory keepers formed cordon. Altitude read 1,200 meters, above jamming cones. Matteo hit broadcast to Satnog's relays. Bar lit green. Signal away. In that breath, mobile service died. Phones lost bars. Live streams froze. Yet we'd already vaulted their firewall. Dad's words now orbiting. Bouncing between satellites. Unstoppable telegraph across continents. Silence rippled, but it was no longer fearful. It was reverent. Borealis lawyer slumped on bench, defeated. Inspector removed cap, eyes soft with respect. I turned to Felicity, voice trembling. Bridge held. She smiled through tears and spanned the sky. But ground's still dangerous. Without cell service, legal protections wobbled. Police could move in under cover of radio silence. We began packing gear, volunteers helping. Then an explosion of static cracked from old analog loudhailer one of Memory Keeper's carried. A pirate radio frequency bled through digital death zone. This is Free London FM, broadcasting on 78.9. We relay cross-park feed worldwide via shortwave. Keep speaking. Mateo laughed. Legacy seeds keep sprouting. Yet headlights flashed at Park Edge, unmarked black vans arriving, likely private contractors freed from police hesitation. We needed escape plan. Felicity pointed at Pedalos on Serpentine Lake nearby. Water exit? Ridiculous, yet plausible. We dashed, loading minimal crate, tape secure, onto swan-shaped Pedalo. Volunteers spun others to create flotilla shield. Private guards reached shore, hesitated at absurd scene of rebels pedaling giant swans into morning mist. We glided away, oar pedals squeaking. I glanced back. Aluminum Pavilion still thronged with supporters chanting Dad's name. Police standoff with private guards. Media drones buzzed overhead. On water, serenity fell. Sunlight painted ripples gold. Felicity leaned on satchel, exhausted smile. Part of me thinks Dad's watching this, laughing his bridge engineer head off. I hope he's proud, I whispered. Mateo checked handheld radio. Shortwave echo confirms uplink reached global amateur net. Our job's halfway done. I squinted toward far shore, thick trees cloaked upcoming walking path. Safe hideout maybe, in boathouse. But gut clenched, story not over. Borealis cunning. My phone buzzed. Emergency fallback sat text. Unknown number. Asterisk, we have your mother. Meet 27 Parsifal Lane alone with tapes, or she disappears. 9 o'clock. Blood drained from face. Felicity saw and paled. Mom? I nodded, fists shaking. Kidnapping. Borealis escalating beyond litigation. Mateo hissed. We expected corporate malice, not hostage tactics. I stared at sunrise bleeding pink over London roofs. 9 o'clock, only 90 minutes away. Parsifal Lane, abandoned theater district near Dad's first internship site. I swallowed dread. They turned final screw. This isn't about tapes anymore. It's about breaking the bridge by ripping its foundation, our family. Felicity's eyes blazed. Then we forged the strongest span yet. But how to rescue Mum, protect evidence, and expose Borealis's criminal act before they spin narrative further. Time dwindled like embers on film leader. The Swan Pedalo creaked toward shore, each ripple ticking away seconds. A lone coot skimmed the surface of the Serpentine as our plastic swan nosed into reeds, the hush of dawn broken only by the creak of petals and the howl of distant sirens, echoing behind marble statues. My phone's sat text message still glared. We have your mother. 90 minutes until 9 o'clock. Tapes secure inside the satchel. Felicity's breathing came in sharp, measured bursts, as if she were auditioning for a role that required terror disguised as poise. Mateo steadied the pedalo with an oar improvised from a shattered deckboard. We dock here. Boathouse utility ramp. We need gear and a plan in less than 10. His voice tried for calm, but the tremor betrayed him. I nodded, eyes scanning tree-lined bank. Memory Keeper's volunteers kept the stage barricaded 100 meters back, giving us this narrow window to slip away under cover of their decoy chants. We grounded onto mud. I jumped first, knee screaming but holding. Felicity passed the LTO satchel, then her camera bag. Mateo leapt last and clipped tether line, sending the Swan drifting to confuse pursuers. Inside the boathouse, dark, pine-scented, we found a storeroom of paddles, buoyancy aids, and an ancient first aid chest. I tightened new elastic strap around knee and splashed water on face, staring into cracked mirror. Eyes ringed in soot, cheek bruised purple, but pupils steady, bright. Dad's eyes. Felicity touched my shoulder. Mom is strong, but she's diabetic. They won't know her medication schedule. Quote, I forced exhale. Then we retrieve her before crisis. Mateo unrolled blueprint, pulled from workshop, a city utilities plan overlaying theater district. He circled Parsifal Lane. Old cabaret theater gutted for redevelopment. 2 front entries, 1 alley fire door. Underground arts tunnels connect to disused mail train line. Good for covert ingress. High chance they expect us to barge through main doors, I said. We surprise from below. Felicity bit her lip. What about a proof of life demand? Mateo opened encrypted chat server. He sent, show her live now or no deal. 3 dots pulsed. Photo arrived. Mum bound to chair. Gagged but eyes fierce. Glucose monitor ripped from arm. Timestamp current. My stomach twisted. Felicity whispered. She's in theater's orchestra pit. The red velvet backdrop. That was her performing home 2 decades ago. She recognized details. We draw them out, I said. Trade decoy tapes while I free Mum. We need backup. I'll call Grace. Press swarm can deter gunplay. 7:15. We slipped through park maintenance gate, commandeering service e-bikes. Rain ceased. Morning traffic thickened. Mateo rode point, hacking traffic lights via phone to stay green. I rode tail, satchel strapped across chest. Felicity filmed everything on a shoulder rig, streaming through Free London FM's shortwave patch. No cell but LoRa mesh feeding into broadcast vans still surrounding park. Our rescue would be part of story. Transparency, the armor. Borealis watchers likely scanning highways, but we melted among cyclists and commuters. At Marylebone Road, Grace's van pulled parallel. She leaned out, hair whipping. Police radios frantic contractor Black Aegis teams moving to theater zone. Armed. My jaw tightened. We'll feed your crew tunnel coordinates. Be our eyes. 7:54. Abandoned postal tunnel entrance beneath a graffiti-blasted substation on New Cavendish Street. Rusted grate padlocked. Mateo produced bolt cutters. Steel snapped. Stale air breathed out. We descended iron ladder into darkness, smelling of soot and wet limestone. Headlamps on. Rails glinted, curving into black. Felicity whispered Dad's childhood rhyme about silver snakes through secret caves. Grounded courage. She recorded continuous. Our viewers would witness. Borealis wouldn't risk lethal force on camera, but Black Aegis sometimes jam frequencies. Mateo deployed mesh repeaters at intervals, piggybacking London Underground telemetry signals. 8:10. Tunnel intersected with newer service conduit sloping toward theater quarter. Up ahead, light slanted through a bricked-up arch, partly demolished. We squeezed through. Dust motes danced in shafts, revealing flight of wooden stairs leading up to sub-basement storeroom, racks of costumes and set pieces blanketed in plastic. Above us muffled male voices, harsh orders, clack of weapon safeties. Felicity's hand trembled around camera grip. I signaled silent plan. I head to pit. Mateo lays diversion at stage rigging. Felicity remains shadow with lens. We synced watches, 20 minutes to deadline. Mateo rigged pyrotechnic squib from smoke canisters and lithium batteries, would simulate electrical fire stage left. I crept along corridor lined with cracked mirrors, seeing my warped reflection fracturing into shards. Anger, fear, fierce love. I reached orchestra pit ladder, peered. 4 guards, 2 with sidearms, flanked Mum. An officer-type paced, phone to ear. Borealis executive, perhaps. Mum sat upright despite bonds, chin lifted. Officer barked. Have Crossley ready in 10 or we start cutting pieces of her little film. I clenched fists. 10 minutes. Mateo's smoke bomb detonated, boom. Stage lights flickered, alarms beeped. Guards cursed. 2 rushed toward noise. I slid down ladder, rolling behind timpani drum. Moments blurred. Rhythmic pulse of blood. Dust smell of velvet curtains. Distant shouts. I crawled to Mum. Sliced cable ties with multi-tool. Her eyes softened. I whispered, "Surprise rescue. Hold steady." She nodded. Unflappable engineer's widow. 1 guard remained, scanning with flashlight. Felicity, from loft catwalk, focused lens. Red record glowed. Guard approached. I feigned cough behind cello case to draw him. He neared, gun up. I sprang, shoving case into legs, weapon fired, bullet buried in bass drum, echo thundered. I tackled him. We crashed over music stands. Pain ripped shoulder. He grappled ferociously. I strained, adrenaline roaring. Guard bashed my head with pistol butt. Stars exploded, but rush of footsteps. Mom! She swung a broken conductor's baton into his temple. He staggered. I wrenched pistol, slammed butt to his jaw. He collapsed. Mom exhaled shakily. Thought your father taught you no violence? He forgot corporate mercenaries, I panted. Overhead, more shouts. Smoke dense. Mateo signaled via earpiece. Plan B now. Rooftop extraction. Front lobby flooded with reinforcements. Quote, we hustled Mom through backstage corridor to service lift shaft. Power dead. Ladder again. Mom's diabetes risk, but she insisted, climbing slow. Felicity filmed, but also spotted. At top, roof access door padlocked. Mateo cut with bolt cutters. Sky bright. Clouds skidding. Nearby cranes from later redevelopment loomed. Fire exit scaffolding led across alley to adjacent hotel roof. But Black Aegis snipers on theater frontage might have vantage. Grace's drone buzzed overhead, voice broadcast. Snipers 2 o'clock. We ducked behind HVA Sang unit. I scanned bridge scenario. Narrow crane boom extending over alley. Could transform into traversal path. Dad's lessons, load distribution, torsion yields. Crane rated for several tons. Our weight negligible. I unhooked tie-off rope from lifting rig, clipped carabiner to harness Felicity found in prop room. We slide across. Mateo pale. Heights again? No time. Gunfire crackled, bullets spanging duct. We sprinted to crane tower, climbed cross braces. Wind whipped hair. I slung satchel front, gripping cable trolley. Showtime. Mum protested weakly, but I secured harness. Clipped to trolley. Lean back, I instructed, voice steady. Trust load path. We launched, wheeling across sky above alley, 10-story drop swirling below. Air tore screams from lungs. Impact at far side, platform rattling. Felicity and Mateo followed seconds later. Hotel roof door burst open. Friendly security, summoned by Grace's tip, offered safe passage to service elevator. Inside ballroom floor, paramedics assessed Mum. She injected insulin, color returning. Grace arrived, filming, eyes wide. Whole world saw you dual mercenary with cello. Mum smirked. Prefer a proper audience. But news screen behind barreled new crisis. Government petitioned emergency powers to seize all illicitly obtained material under new Data Defense Act scheduled vote midday. They'd legalize confiscation retroactively. Mateo calculated. Vote passes probability 70%. We had hours to cement public opinion and legislative oversight. Evidence and Mom safe but bigger war remains. I addressed camera. Borealis escalated to kidnapping. We will not negotiate with thieves of memory. At noon, Westminster will hear the truth. On House Square lawn if necessary. Join us. Within minutes, hashtags, #ProtectLegacy, and #NoDataDefense trended. Union leaders, artists, bereaved families, previously exploited by Borealis, pledged to rally. Yet private intel pinged. Borealis CEO Amelia Strake scheduled press conference 11:30 a.m. at company HQ, presenting doctored footage to smear us as extremists. We had to outplay before they controlled narrative. Plan crystallized. Leak full internal emails showing hostages order, deliver Mum's testimony, show uncut rescue footage. But we need secure public broadcast hub. Grace suggested BBC Courtyard, protected by press immunity. BBC agreed tentatively if we arrive by 10:45. We loaded into hotel service van, memory keepers escorting on scooters to scout route. Mum insisted front seat. I've faced Luftwaffe bombs, she quipped. En route, we curated sequence, timeline, receipts, kidnapping footage, Dad's final message crescendo. Felicity edited on laptop balanced across knees, tears mixing with focus. Suddenly, traffic snarled near Oxford Circus, police blockade redirecting. Radio, bomb threat phone-in near BBC. Area evacuated. Borealis sabotage. We detoured, but every arterial road closed under suspicious alerts. Time slipping. Mateo eyes flicked route map. Underground again. Tube line still open. We parked in loading bay, grabbed minimal gear. Tube staff recognized story. Ushered bypass of ticket barriers. On Victoria Line train crunching metallic screech, passengers filmed, cheered. One offered portable hotspot patching to shortwave mesh. Donation of power banks. Society rallying. At Green Park, we surfaced among massive protesters already swelling, signs reading "Grief is not for sale," and "Stories belong to families." Chants roared. Journalists roved. But riot police formed cordon near Government District. Helicopters circled. BBC courtyard locked. Instead, we mounted improv stage on Trafalgar Square plinth, Nelson's column sentinel above. Volunteers rigged speakers from festival truck. Visual feed projected onto National Gallery wall. Wind gusted, Union Jack snapping. 10:50. We went live. I opened with succinct chronology. Mum testified, voice steady, condemning Borealis. Felicity rolled rescue footage unedited. Gasps. Outrage thundered. Suddenly gallery lights flickered. EMP jammer? Mateo yelled, "They're scrambling RF!" Stream dropped. Crowd panicked. I raised megaphone sans electronics. "They cannot jam your eyes or ears. Record, remember, retell." Thousands repeated chant. Deafening. Mateo rebooted mesh using analog packet radio fallback. Grace's camera-fed satellite truck circumventing jamming. Stream resumed via contingency IP path. Viewers soared past 5 million. But riot police advanced, shields clanging. Officer demanded dispersal citing safety. Protesters locked arms. I requested negotiation. Officer refused. Then clamor behind. Parliament Square's bells tolled early. Clock glitch triggered by hack from memory keepers. Drawing eyes. Police redeployed there, easing tension. 11:28. Large outdoor screens switched automatically to Borealis HQ press conference feed. Strakes stepping to podium flanked by lawyers. She began. "This morning our servers were maliciously..." But her broadcast glitched. Mateo smirked. He had tunneled injection overlaying watermarked email screenshot ordering hostage. Strake's face drained on global feed. Microphone cut. Chaos. Crowd erupted triumphant. But Strake's security forces may be desperate. Mum sagged. Blood sugar dipping. Paramedic attended. Supply low. Need restful space. We escorted her to St. Martin in the Fields Crypt Cafe, cool stone refuge. Felicity stayed, filming final remarks from Mum for midday compilation. An urgent ping. High Court hearing rescheduled 12:15 remote docket. Judge demands our appearance by secure video or default judgment, favoring Borealis. Their last gambit. We set up laptop but jam risk high. Mateo recommended direct fiber at City Hall Press Center across river. I would go with tapes for sworn presentation. Felicity finish compilation. Mum safe with clergy. I left square with Mateo, weaving through alleys, sidestepping residual skirmishes. River footbridge near embankment clear, until Black Aegis SUV screeched blocking path. Doors opened. Armed operatives disembarked. Nowhere to hide. Mateo muttered code to record live headcam. Leader barked. Hand over satchel and proofs. I stood firm, heart hammering. Whole world sees you. You shoot. Truth multiplies. He leveled handgun. We'll risk it. Sudden roar of superbike engines. Memory keeper's rapid response crew vaulted barricade, firing paint pellets, fracturing SUV windshield. Operatives ducked. We sprinted toward river wall. No exit but water. I clipped satchel strap across shoulder, grabbed Mateo's hand, vaulted railing. Cold Thames air whip before plunge. Gunshots cracked. Bullets spattered water as we plunged deep into murk, current brutal. Satchel sealed but weighty. I kicked strong, lungs burning, surfaced under pier strut. Mateo coughed, eyes wild but alive. My knee screamed anew. Police RIB boats converged upriver, confusion reigning. We swam under pier walkway, hauling onto slime-green support beam, breath ragged. Mateo pulled waterproof GPS transponder from pocket. Float, plan B. He pressed button, remote drone submarine at Finchley Workshop activated, set to navigate canal network delivering duplicate tapes to City Hall intake grate. Redundant delivery. But we still had originals and had to reach hearing ourselves dripping, injured. I spotted moored tourist barge prepping for noon cruise. We clambered aboard unseen, hid among life jackets as captain untied lines. Barge glided downstream toward Tower Bridge, time 11:49, hearing soon. I borrowed a deckhand's phone under pretext of emergency. Logged secure video prep, bandwidth low. Suddenly, phone lit with alert. MALP 6 Trias Parliament passes Data Defense Act 240 to 214. Enforcement begins immediately. Borealis lobbying succeeded. Police authorized to confiscate, quote, contaminated data carriers without warrant. My gut iced. We had minutes before Marine Policing boards vessels. Mateo's gaze frantic. We need absolute public reckoning now, before they snatch tapes. I remembered. Dad's unbuilt bridge had final design. A kinetic wave bridge across Thames, using barges as floating piers. Illuminated at night. Symbolic unity. This moment mirrored blueprint. Make the river stage. I climbed to roof deck, drenched threads flapping. Tourists gasped, recognizing me. I took deck PA. London, look up! My voice carried across water, echoing off stone embankment. Cameras turned. Above, Tower Bridge spires gleamed. I hoisted satchel to sky. These tapes hold truth. Your new law cannot drown. If you attempt to seize them, I will cast them into the public domain quite literally, symbolically washing them into history's current. Gasps. Marine police siren wailed, boat racing toward us. Officers shouted to cut engines. I gripped satchel, foot perched on railing. Tourists pleaded. Cameras everywhere, Mateo whispered. We have hydro data capsules ready. They'll preserve data even underwater. Police drew grapples. Bridge bascules began lifting for tall ship scheduled passage. Massive draw rising. Bells clanging. Crowd on walkways cheered. Helicopters swarmed. I felt wind whip hair like flag. My father's voice seemed in breeze. Water under iron dove. I took breath. Arms spread. You cannot legislate memory. I leapt. Splash, thunder shook river. Satchel tethers snapped free. Capsules ejecting, scattering luminous marker dye across tide like blooming chrysanthemum. Cameras captured kaleidoscope. Underwater, the cold seized lungs. I released capsules. They drifted in current, broadcasting location pings to Open Tracker app, thousands now downloaded. I kicked upward, but my knee crunched. Cramps locked calf. Visibility blurred. Lungs screamed. Above, muffled chaos. Mateo's shadow searching water. But weight of trauma dragged me. Edges of vision darkened. River's roar replaced by distant memory of Dad humming Scarborough Fair. As consciousness slipped, I wondered whether I had built the bridge or burned it. Then strong arms hooked under mine. Diver? Mateo? Darkness swallowing before answer. Answer. The single syllable throbbed in the drowning darkness, a buoy of thought anchoring me to the thin remaining thread of consciousness. Water roared in my ears, an ocean of blurred sirens, pounding heartbeats, and the muffled echo of Dad's nighttime humming. Cold gnawed into bone. Above, intermittent bursts of light fractured the murk. Police spotlights sweeping, media drones flashing, torch beams skittering like frantic minnows across the Thames' silt-black skin. My lungs felt carved from stone, each reflexive gulp dragging brackish river into throat. Then, hands, not the weak tug of weeds or the indifferent tug of currents, but decisive hands, calloused yet careful, hooking beneath my armpits. Pressure squeezed my ribs, momentum surged upward, The water brightened, churned, and abruptly I burst through the surface, gasping, retching river water into the pale morning air. "Hold her head, right there, right there." The voice accented Liverpool cut through the chaos. A life ring cinched round my chest. Gloved fingers snapped to snap hook. I glimpsed fluorescent orange wetsuits emblazoned RNLI, and beyond them, Matteo, hanging onto a rope ladder slung from the rescue boat's side, eyes wild with worry. Rain had begun again, pinprick needles stippling the river around us. I coughed violently, forcing water from lungs. The satchel, they needed to know. "The data capsules?" I wheezed. "They're pinging," Matteo shouted back over engine roar. "Volunteer kayakers are scooping them. They've lit up the tracker map like Christmas." Relief flickered, replaced instantly by terror. The High Court hearing, Borealis's smear tactics, the Data Defense Act already passed. The world might have Dad's story, but Borealis still hunted us like prey. The rescue boat's deck materialized beneath me. Paramedics laid me on a foil blanket, slicing waterlogged jacket off, checking pupils, pulse. My knee pulsed molten pain but moved. I spat last mouthful of Thames onto the deck's non-skid. One paramedic squeezed my hand. "You're the bridge girl, yeah? Whole station's been streaming." "They passed the act," I croaked. She nodded grimly. "We heard. But people are marching. Westminster's gridlocked." 8:37 British summertime. The rescue boat docked at a riverside ambulance pontoon near Blackfriars. Crowds pressed the barriers, chanting my name, waving phone screens showing the still looping clip of me leaping from Tower Bridge. While medics dressed my knee, Grace Howell's camera hovered, capturing everything. I grabbed her wrist. "Where's Felicity and Mum?" "Safe in Crypt Cafe," Grace said, "but riot vans blocked north exits. We're negotiating passage." I tried to stand. Dizziness swam. Grace steadied me. "Press vans can't reach City Hall. Lawyers prepped remote testimony but need your sworn declaration within the hour." My gaze shot to the skyline, Shard's glass spear, City Hall's bulbous shell. Between them, a blockade of police marine units, and on land, security checkpoints scanning for contaminated data carriers. "We can't hand carry proof," I muttered. "We need broadcast that physically bypasses blockade." Matteo jogged up dripping, clutching dry bag with remaining capsules. Eyes lit brainstorm. "Remember your dad's Thames kinetic bridge concept? It included hydroelectric buoys relaying structural data via ultrasonic pulses." I frowned. "Yes. What if we repurpose those consumers' sonar fish finders as data relays? Fishermen anchor thousands along river. We encode legal evidence packets into ultrasonic chirps, broadcast upstream and downstream simultaneously. Anyone with a fish finder app becomes a legal repository." Grace's jaw dropped. "You would turn the river itself into the witness stand." Matteo grinned. "Aquatic blockchain." Adrenaline superseded fatigue. "Let's do it. But we still need to read the oath to the court." "Court switched to virtual docket," Grace said. "We can beam audio via ham shortwave. They can't jam everything." 9:05. A borrowed rigid hull inflatable zipped us upriver. Matteo's laptop streamed code to volunteer coders worldwide, converting LTO tape manifests into compressed chirp packets. Each kilobyte of metadata modulated into ultrasonic sweeps between 40 to 70 kilohertz. Out of human hearing, but well within hobby sonar transducers. We reached a cluster of fishing charters moored near Lambeth. Their skippers, alerted by #ProtectLegacy hashtags, had already jury-rigged phone mounts and waterproof speakers. We handed memory cards to captains, each encoded with random shard set. The plan: at 9:20, every boat would ping simultaneously, echoing packets off bridge pilings and embankments, turning the Thames into a resonant cavity of truth. I stood at the bow, wind-whipping soaked hair as lumps tucked under clouds promised another storm. Cameras rolled from news choppers overhead. I raised a battered megaphone. "To everyone listening, today we prove that memory can flow like water, inhibited at one point and it finds another path. In 5 minutes, the river will testify to Parliament that no law can damn honesty. Cheers erupted. Mid-deck, Grace patched into High Court remote channel via shortwave. A tinny tone indicated connection. Static parted. A clerk's voice emerged. Delaney Crossley, are you present? I stepped to microphone rig. Yes, Your Honor. You are aware you face contempt if you withhold property subject to injunction? Respectfully, the property in question is moral right, not corporate asset. I stand ready to deliver unaltered evidence to the people's record and the court simultaneously. A pause, muffled voices. Judge returned. Proceed. 9:20. Mateo counted down. 5-4. The skippers tapped transmit keys. A hum-like distant whale song vibrated through hull. Phones on deck lit waterfall graphs. Mateo's console scrolled, Tom to packet 001, acknowledged, Tom to packet 002, asterisk, dozens per second. We watched sonar spectrograms bloom kaleidoscope stripes, data symphonies bouncing from Chelsea to Greenwich. Twitter erupted. My fish finder just downloaded court documents. Civic curiosity pivoted into collective auditing. I spoke oath into radio. I, Delaney Rose Crossley, solemnly affirm the following annexed data is true and original, free of malicious alteration. Tinny gavel struck in response. Oath accepted. Relief washed, yet new alert came. Parliament Square protest turning violent. Police deploying water cannon. Felicity texted, Circus Command stable. But we're hemmed in. I told Captain to dock near embankment. But as we approached, we saw water cannon trucks blocking Whitehall. Jets doused protesters, ironically feeding stories that could drown Borealis's narrative further. Mateo's phone buzzed. File Guardian Dev. Strake secured emergency injunction to seize all hydrosonic transmissions. Navy divers ordered to disable sonar network. Estimated arrival 30 minutes. They'll physically cut the river, Mateo spat. And Data Defense Act gives them cover. I clenched, railing. Then we have half an hour to flood every archive we can. Academic mirrors, library caches, personal drives. Mateo cranked code, raising chirp rate. Boats retuned speakers. Volume risking fish eardrums, but cause necessary. London Aquarium marine biologist on deck nodded. We'll relocate sensitive species next tide. Keep broadcasting. Grace filmed thrumming surface, overlaying caption, Terror a river of testimony. Streams maxed 6 million. But crisis hammered again. Felicity voice call, frantic. Black Aegis storming cafe, taking mum, screams cut call. My world telescoped. Plot coordinates. Grace's cameraman traced location, Covent Garden Piazza, where cafe entrance emerges. That area, a warren of tunnels connecting to Royal Opera House. Familiar to Felicity, she could hide. I grabbed rope ladder. Mateo, keep sonic broadcast. Grace, hold stream. I rescue mum. Captain protested crossing cordon. Grace offered motorcycle courier. I jumped to pier, limped to waiting courier, rev near St. Thomas's steps. A young woman wearing rainbow helmet, medical rebel patch. Name's Asha. Hop on. We weaved through alley shortcuts, engines snarling, skirting riot police, engaged else. My knee ached but adrenaline override. On Strand, a barricade rose. Asha cut down back streets, wrong way on one-ways, horns blaring. At Covent Garden, crowds thin. Tourists huddled, phones filming black SUVs outside church portico. I slipped into side passage leading to crypt corridor, used for public tours. Inside gloom, echoing voices. Guards searching. I found Felicity crouched behind stone column, hands gripping Mum's insulin kit. Mum sat propped against wall, conscious but weak. Felicity's eyes swollen. They grabbed her, then retreated. I fought back, lost phone. Footsteps approached. I signaled low. We backed into gift shop alcove. 2 guards passed, scanning with flashlights. I noted heavy Kevlar vests and suppressed pistols, deadly serious. We needed decoy to lure them away. My gaze fell on rack of souvenir ocarinas, tiny glazed clay flutes. Memory sparked. Ultrasonic broadcast interfering with fish matter. These ocarinas resonated at similar frequencies, We could mimic sonic packets, draw guards thinking we held original transmitter. Felicity understood instantly. Picked 3, strung on cord, I loaded track of chirp packets onto dinged phone speaker. When ocarinas vibrated sympathetically, corridor filled with eerie ghost song. Guards spun, radios crackling, source located basement. They moved past us deeper, leaving exit path. We half-carried Mum upstairs into side alley. Asha waited, new bike ready, but only space for 2. Felicity insisted ride with Mum, which left me alone again. Meet at City Hall steps, I ordered. Asha peeled off. I turned, intending to mislead guards further into tunnels, but Blackage's commander stepped from shadow, flanked by 2 units. He aimed a taser, wires shot. I dodged, wires snagging coat, electric bite rippled, muscles seized. I collapsed, convulsing. Commander crouched, ripped satchel from my shoulder, empty but still valuable. He sneered. Enjoy offline life, Ms. Crossley. A needle jammed into my neck. Sedative. World hazed. Consciousness returned in steel-scented cell. Dim bulb flickered. Wrist zip-tied to chair, knee throbbing. An industrial fan hummed overhead. I tasted copper on tongue. Metal door opened. Amelia Strake herself entered, heels clicking. She wore immaculate suit, but mascara streak betrayed sleepless night. She carried a tablet and a glass of water. Hydrate, she said, placing glass. I glared. You've cost me billions, she began, but I'll forgive if you sign digital ownership transfer. We'll spin heroic narrative, platform your film globally. Borealis becomes savior. You get profit, family safety. I chuckled despite pain. You kidnapped my mother. She spread hands. Collateral until rationality prevailed. Rationality, I spat, is not ransoming grief. Strake leaned forward. I built Borealis to democratize stories. Your moral high ground is quicksand when costs mount. Employees, investors, they need revenue. Steal less, I said. Her expression hardened. Sign, or your sonic broadcast will be legally reclassified as cyberterrorism. Divers will plant false evidence of bioterror sensors. Public will turn. I closed eyes. Think, Delaney. Sonic networks still live, but divers en route. Capsules in river. Mum free. Felicity with them. If I capitulate, entire movement dies. When I opened eyes, Strake studied me. Time's nearly up, they'll cut stream in minutes. My gaze flicked to fan overhead. Great screws loose, could be exploited. Also tablet within reach if free. I sighed theatrically. Fine, uncuff so I can sign. Strake gestured. Guard sliced zip tie. My arms numb but mobile. She opened digital contract on tablet, slid it across. I feigned scanning, fingers trembling. She leaned over, pointing to claws. I seized moment, swung glass of water square into her face. She gasped. I jammed tablet edge into guard's throat, kicked chair into his knees. He stumbled. I vaulted onto table, grabbed his stun baton, cracked across his temple. Strake shrieked, slipped on water. Heartbeat hammered, but adrenaline fueled precision. I ripped passcard from guard's belt, dashed to door. Hallway empty, neon flicker. Signage, warehouse loading dock. Underground location unknown. I pelted down corridor, baton loose in hand. Memory of floor plan glimpsed earlier in print article, Borealis's emergency bunker near London Gateway Port. That meant we were 25 miles east of city, my rescue window small. Sirens sounded, red strobes lit hall. I ducked into server room, rows of new hyperbeam clusters. Perfect. I located patch panel, jacked baton into cooling vent, wedging door. Purloined passcard granted low-level access, enough to open BIOS KVM. I typed frantic. Reroute hyperbeam feed to * all internal monitors and external jumbotron at Borealis HQ. Then inject cell footage of Strake's ransom confession captured by my body cam earlier. And overlay water throw fight. Upload progress crawled. Footsteps pounded corridor. I grabbed carbon dioxide extinguisher, aimed at floor as guard burst in. White plume shrouded room. I slipped past, baton cracking wrist. Ran. Exit sign ahead, freight elevator. I hit call, doors open sluggish. Alarms blared. I dived in, jabbed G. Doors closed just as bullet pinged frame. Elevator descended, squealing. I leaned against wall, chest heaving. Mirror overhead showed bruised face, determination sharpened. Halfway, elevator jerked. Emergency stop. Intercom crackled Strake's voice. Still time, Delaney. Stop this and you walk free. I ignored. Pried hatch overhead, climbed into shaft smelling of grease. Ladder down 20 meters. I descended, hands burning. Below, door partly ajar to loading dock. Lorries idled. I slipped between pallets, reached exterior gate. A lone security guard smoked, scrolling phone, watching viral clip of Strake drenched. Irony. I jangled keys near forklift, drawing his curiosity. When he rounded forklift, I skirted gate, sprinted into maritime dawn. Cranes silhouetted, container stacks labyrinth. No phone, no money, but conviction. Ahead, a cyclist wearing Hy-Vis delivered container manifest to office. His cargo e-bike rested unlocked. I hopped on, pedaled furiously toward nearest rail depot 2 miles inland. 9:57. Radio from passing car reported, Hyperbeam feed outing Borealis CEO as kidnapper, now playing on 800 screens, stock plummeting. Police announced investigation. But divers, still inbound, Data Defense Act enforcement unstoppable until repeal, final battle at legislative level remained. I reached Stanford La Hope Station, ticket kiosks offline due to network outage, thanks activists. I boarded crowded commuter train. Passengers recognized me, offered phones, coats. I recorded message. They kidnapped, they lied, but truth leaked. Keep the river singing. In 15 minutes, Black Aegis divers will cut buoys. If you own sonar gear, go to river and cast nets. Let no diver sabotage freedom. Message blasted across networks. Half the car applauded. A father in suit clapped my shoulder. My son died last year. His memorial video copyright flagged by Borealis. You gave us voice. Tears threatened, but mission ahead. At West Ham, I boarded Jubilee Line, texting Mateo via borrowed phone. Chakely Quays Live. Maurode Queens Walk. Status? He replied, divers repel attempts. Kayakers dropping fake capsules with dye to mask real positions. Felicity, mum safe at St. Thomas rooftop. Relief tangible. 10:42. I emerged on Queens Walk near City Hall. Protesters lined river, fishermen pinging away. Police riot units looked exhausted, some cheering quietly. Felicity dashed over, hugging tight. Mum, pale but determined, squeezed my hand. Mateo handed warm tea. We climbed City Hall steps. Journalists swarmed. I faced cameras. This story took us a long time. If you like it, subscribe. Now, back to the story. The scripted line, mid-part special message, escaped my lips with surreal calm. A wave of laughter and applause rippled. Brief respite. Then I resumed serious tone, recounting kidnapping, Strack's confession, requesting Parliament suspend Data Defense Act pending inquiry. Live feed reached tens of millions. Sudden roar from south, military helicopter approaching, Royal Navy, not Borealis. It hover-edged over river, loudspeaker. Diving operations cease immediately. Area is crime scene under Mahdi investigation. Diplomatic seismic shift, government distancing from act. Crowd erupted, river buoys continued singing. Divers retreated, hands raised. High Court clerk phoned, injunction vacated, Borealis assets frozen, arrest warrant issued for Amelia Strake and Black Aegis commanders. My knees buckled, Mateo steadied, tears spilled. Mum whispered, bridge stands. Yet sun not set, Borealis still wields PR machine. Data Defense Act only suspended, not repealed. Final parliamentary vote tomorrow at dawn. We must craft last persuasive documentary overnight, weaving entire saga into piece unstoppable. Release worldwide at 6 o'clock before vote. I turned to Felicity. One last film, sis. She nodded. Fire reignited. We secured BBC editing suite. Volunteers transcribed 72 hours of footage. AI tools summarized. Artists rendered animations of river data flow. Sound designers layered Dad's hum as leitmotif. Midnight oil burned. Coffee flowed. At 3:30, servers exported 8K master, water, over iron. It ended with drone shot of Thames, glowing with buoy lights spelling truth. Test audiences in newsroom wept. It was ready. But 4:12, power cut. Backup generators failed. Hacker alert. Internal sabotage. Render nodes offline. Only one portable SSD held final master, locked in Suite A vault. Security guard radioed. Armed intruders breached lower corridor. Black Aegis remnant. Desperate. We huddled in central corridor. Emergency lights red. Footsteps echoed. I placed hand on vault keypad. Heart thrumming. Not again. They were coming for the last copy. The emergency strobes painted everything infernal crimson. Walls, desks, and the anxious whiteness of Felicity's knuckles wrapped around Dad's fountain pen. The BBC's labyrinthine sub-basements, once humming with the polite drone of public broadcasting, had transformed into a war zone of flickering light and hushed footsteps. Somewhere beyond the reinforced glass of Suite A, the single master SSD containing water over iron, the thickly woven story of my father, the stolen legacy, the river that sang, lay locked behind a biometric vault. And now the steel-toed echo of determined boots drew closer, heralding a last, desperate attempt by Borealis's remaining loyalists to snuff out what little time we had left. 3:58 British summertime, 2 hours before Parliament's reconsideration vote on the newly suspended Data Defense Act. Matteo crouched behind a stack of flight cases, fingers flying over the backlit keys of a battery-powered mini-laptop. He'd hot-wired a short-range mesh that piggybacked the building's analog paging system. On his screen, a simple bar crawled forward. Vault override. Decrypting secondary lock 27, 42, 63%. Each percentage gained felt like a breath stolen back from oblivion. Felicity, kneeling beside Mum, whispered soft encouragement, while continuing a low, resolute hum that mirrored the motif of Dad's final message. The tune, one he'd whistled while patching our childhood bike tires, bled courage through the hallway. My knee, newly bandaged but still angry, pulsed against the cold floor tiles, yet the pain had blurred into a distant throb compared to the firestorm under my ribs. I remembered Strake's threat, the diver's sabotage attempt, and the river buoy network thrumming like an army of digital bees. But I also recalled the stewardship entrusted to us by the millions who now carried fragments of Dad's story in their pockets, fish finders, and shortwave radios across the globe. Those fragments were resilient, yes, but the master cut we'd spent 12 feral sleepless hours perfecting was more than redundancy. It was the emotional blueprint, a living artery that would pump context, nuance, and undeniable proof of Borealis's crimes straight into the bloodstream of public conscience before the vote. The master had to live. I peered down the corridor, forcing breath to slow, ears straining for any stray word over the wail of suppressed sirens. 3 armed intruders, according to a panicked security guard we'd ferried to safety minutes earlier. Ex-Black Aegis contract men, hired off the books by a Borealis vice president who hadn't yet accepted corporate defeat. Their comms were radio silent, too disciplined for panic, too desperate for negotiation. A tertiary battery light flickered overhead, then died. It would be black as pitch in seconds. Matteo, I whispered, how long on that override? 79%. They've welded the final cipher chain to a local handshake. As soon as my key cracks, we still need Felicity's fingerprints and retinal to pop the inner door. I'm ready, Felicity said, luminous eyes meeting mine. Mum, seated against the wall parceled in a blanket volunteers had fetched from wardrobe, inhaled shakily. Remember, bridges hold because forces balance. Don't rush and snap your tension cord, Lonnie. Her voice, steady engineer, comforting mother, soothed the fever in my pulse. Boots clicked closer. I mouthed, go to Matteo. He typed a frantic final command. Progress ticked 93-95, 100%. A gentle chirp signaled success. The vault's outer LED ring switched from red to waiting amber. We moved. Suite A's short corridor widened into a wedge-shaped anteroom lined with broadcast monitors now dead and blank. At its apex, the burnished titanium door of the vault hissed as Felicity pressed her thumb to the plate. A thin vertical slit opened, scanning her iris in ghost green light. She exhaled, and the door sighed, recessing into the wall with the hush of a sleeping leviathan. Mateo darted inside first, shoulders squared, stun baton brandished. Shelves of cold storage drives gleamed like obsidian monoliths, each case labeled with year, show code, running time. He found the foam-cradled Pelican holding the SSD and slid it reverently into the inner pocket of his Kevlar hoodie. The high-pitched whine of a powered drill erupted down the hallway. The intruders were dismantling an auxiliary barrier. We had 45 seconds, maybe less. I pointed to a service hatch in the vault ceiling. BBC maintains vertical cable risers connecting to the rooftop antenna farm. I'd memorized the floor plan during our frantic edit session. We crawl up, bypass that corridor carnage, and exit across the roof catwalk to the neighboring archive tower. There's a freight lift they haven't secured. What about Mom? Felicity asked. I'll go with her, Mateo said. You two handle the master. We'll rendezvous, ground-level vehicle bay, north ramp. We parted, Mateo guiding Mom to maintenance elevator shaft at rear, Felicity and I scaling the riser ladder with the drive strapped between us in a courier sling. My shoulder screamed as I hoisted myself one rung after another, each clank echoing like some demonic metronome of the intruder's approach. Above, I popped the steel lid and inhaled the briny gust of London's sleepless sky. Rain fell in diagonal blades. A panorama of sodium lamps, red bus tail lights, and the cling of river mist spread beyond the parapet. Big Ben's tower glowed to the west, nearly 4 a.m., hands crawling toward that moment when Parliament would gather. Somewhere in those chambers, lobbyists still haggled for votes. Our film had to beat every bribe, every whispered threat. We jogged across catwalk-grated metal slippery underfoot. Thames wind tugged my coat like it wanted to hurl me into low orbit. Felicity moved with dancer's poise, yet the exhaustion etched in her tremor. Halfway across the roofline, a shot cracked. A bullet ricocheted off handrail. One of the intruders emerged behind, weapon braced on railing. Instinct flared. I shoved Felicity forward. Run! I ducked behind a ventilator stack. More shots peppered the tar-felt surface. BBC satellite dishes rang like struck gongs. Felicity sprinted, coil spring athleticism I'd forgotten she possessed. She twisted, flung Dad's fountain pen like a dart. It clattered near the shooter's boot, startling him enough to send his next round wide. I broke cover, lunging for a coiled fire hose on an anchor. Yanking its nozzle, I slammed the brass head into his jaw before he could reacquire me. He sprawled, unconscious. But the second and third gunmen weren't far behind. We fled across final catwalk and dove through a maintenance door into the adjacent archive tower. Inside, fluorescent emergency strips retained faint power. The freight lift I'd banked on yawned open, miraculously functional on backup generator. We piled in, slamming times G times BOVs. The cage shuddered, descending. Somewhere above, boots crashed, muted curses. 10 seconds felt infinite. I pressed my back to the cool mesh, breath cutting in ragged edges. Felicity clutched my hand. In the faint glow, she looked raw and electric, as if she'd been rewired by fire in the last 24 hours. We're going to make it. Ground floor, north ramp loading dock. Mateo stood beside a battered electric mail van. Mum seated passenger seat, paramedic patching her IV port. Keys in? Battery 90%, he called. They sealed the main barrier, but there's a manual bollard control. I jogged to the panel while Felicity hopped behind the wheel. With a crowbar lever, I pried open control box, slashed the hydraulic gate circuit, causing bollards to sink. The van lurched forward. Mateo and I leapt into rear cargo area next to cable spools and boxes of antique microphones. We tore down Southwark Street, rain-hammered windscreen. Borealis mercenaries followed, 2 black vans visible in side mirror. My knee flared. I strapped on elastic brace, gritted teeth. Mateo opened the Pelican. The SSD's blue LED still pulsed. He plugged it into a rugged tablet powered by a power bank. Check some intact, he murmured. Upload to River Buoy network? I asked. No, they can scramble ultrasonic chirps by flooding frequencies. We need stable fiber. The only tamper-proof path left is the House of Commons intranet. They can't legally sever internal links before a vote. If we physically plug into Parliament's press gallery router, every MP's tablet will auto-cache broadcast preview. Security checkpoint, Felicity warned. We screeched toward Westminster Bridge. Barricaded under protest overflow, police wands scanned vehicles, but crowds parted recognizing the mail van crest. Officers shouted that only authorized vehicles could cross. I grabbed tattered BBC Press armband, flashed it. A sergeant hesitated, then waved us through. Behind us, the black vans hit blockade. Police formed human wall. Shots fired into air by mercenaries. Riot shields sprang. Chaos. Our van fishtailed onto Bridge Street, tires squealing. Big Ben's clock face showed 4:37. At Cromwell Green entrance, parliamentary police flagged us down. Delivery manifest? I hopped out brandishing emergency motions signed by Cross-Party Digital Fairness Caucus. A contact inside faxed earlier. Critical exhibit for committee session, I said. They scanned barcode, confirmed. We rolled through gates as dawn bled rose along skyline. 4:48. Inside ancient stone corridor beneath Palace of Westminster, the echo of each footstep felt steeped in a millennium of deals and dissents. A clerk led us to Committee Room 14, repurposed for dawn hearing on Data Defense Act. The air brimmed with tension. MPs bleary-eyed in suits, aides clutching phones, legal advisors whispering. I caught the eye of MP Priya Galloway, champion of open culture, who gave a resolute nod. She motioned us to a side bay of network ports, reserved for BBC pool camera feed. Mateo knelt, plugged SSD into the router's diagnostic USB, executed auto-seed script. A progress wheel blossomed across every tablet in the room. Lines of text scrolled. Exhibit A, Borealis internal memo. Commodity grief strategy asterisk. Followed by still frames of mum bound in theater pit, Strake's drenched confession, and culminating in Dad's restored final address. A hush swept the room as headphones piped his voice. Build yours with love, not fear. Some MPs wiped tears. Others swallowed guilt. The committee chair tapped gavel. This material will be considered under parliamentary privilege. Borealis lobbyists darted in, brandishing objections, but the chair cut them off. You're under police investigation. Leave or be removed. Security escorted them out. We exhaled collective relief, but I knew Borealis's last loyalists still had teeth. They might bypass Parliament entirely, hack broadcast towers, sow disinformation, sabotage the public premiere scheduled at 6 o'clock across global mirrors. I whispered to Mateo, we need distributed premiere redundancy. He smirked, pulling from satchels small orange marsh radio beacons. Dad's old engineering site safety locators retrofitted as Wi-Fi micronodes. Already seeded, every memory keeper cell across Europe will stream Mirror at dawn. 5:22. Mum rested in committee lounge, vital signs better. Felicity and I stepped onto Commons Terrace balcony, overlooking Thames. Gray sky blushed lavender. Buoy lights still twinkled far beyond Westminster as though the river itself winked encouragement. She turned to me, tears suspended on lashes. Do you realize none of this would have happened if you hadn't spent 14 months following every cough, every laugh? He asked me to preserve honesty. I tried. You succeeded beyond measure, she leaned in, forehead against mine. A reconciliation that felt like sunrise. Then a low-flying drone buzzed over terrace. Media not allowed this close. It banked toward us, red LED blinking. Suspicion prickled. Mateo dashed out yelling, down! The drone sprayed shrapnel as it exploded mid-air, shockwave flattening us. Windows shattering. Ears rang. Smoke drifted. Anarchy threatened to swallow dawn. In the concussion haze, I helped Felicity up, small cuts bleeding. Mod security swarmed, scanning sky. Someone had just attempted to assassinate the narrative. But the river kept singing. The Parliament network kept caching frames, and the world of citizen mirrors prepared to upload. I clenched fists, looked to rising sun. 1 hour. 6 o'clock British summertime. We stood inside central lobby, beneath ornate star vault ceiling. MPs gathered for final session. The Data Defense Act repeal amendment queued first. BBC tickers flashed countdown, world watchers numbered in tens of millions. In that moment, Matteo nodded from his vantage at IT console. Water over iron auto-launched across internal screens. Chamber doors opened. MPs filed inside to the swelling chords of Dad's hum, fused with orchestral timbres of Felicity's composition. Their seats backlit with curated overlays, graphs of misuse, footage of protests, faces of families exploited. No voiceover, just visual truth. I squeezed Mum's hand. Felicity inhaled, shoulders settling. We couldn't vote for them, but we'd given them conscience. The House sat debate commenced. Brief, passionate. Across aisles, political calculus bent beneath raw human weight. In under 20 minutes, the amendment passed 510 to 29. The Data Defense Act dissolved into legislative ash. Cheers erupted, tears flowed. Outside Parliament, crowds roared. Buoy Network shifted playback to triumphant finale. Fireworks of sonar chirps cascading celebratory motif along entire river. Police announced arrest of Borealis VP orchestrating mercenary raid. Strake surrendered at Heathrow while attempting to flee. 7:12. We exited Victoria Tower Gardens, where media throng greeted us. I delivered closing statement. Memory is a river. Damn it, and it cuts new channels. Today we learned love is hydraulic. Reporters jotted. Cameras flashed. Grace Howell stepped forward with mic. Delaney, what's next? I looked at Felicity, Mum, Matteo. We established the Jeffrey Crossley Foundation, protecting family archives from corporate exploitation, funding grassroots documentary training. And next week, we begin building my father's unfinished kinetic pedestrian bridge, the one that first taught me to film moving water under iron. A hush, then applause. From pocket, I produced Dad's fountain pen, recovered from catwalk after police cleared roof. I handed it to Felicity. Bridges need design, she smiled, tears bright. Sunlight now spilled gold across Thames, glinting off buoy lights powering down. Mission accomplished. The city exhaled. Epilogue. 3 months later. Water over Iron eclipsed 50 million views, nominated for BAFTA. Borealis collapsed. Assets repurposed into public digital commons. Parliament enacted the Memory Rights Charter. And on a brisk October morning, Felicity and I stood on the half-completed span of Dad's kinetic bridge, watching lamellar pavilions rise like silver origami. A drone camera hovered. I addressed it for the documentary follow-up. Dad, your bridge is no longer blueprint. It's foundation for everyone who ever feared being forgotten. The river answered with late autumn sunlight shimmering smiles. We walked hand in hand across the new deck plates, the hum of turbines echoing Dad's lullaby, water rushing beneath. No corporate logo could erase this skyline. Memory had outlasted commerce. 2 more great stories are next. Don't miss them. Subscribe and turn on notifications.